I think one of the hot button issues, Andrew, is how Trudeau is canceling appearances out of safety.
Yes.
Like, I love that word. You know, is there any word in this day and age that is most misused than the word safety? We need a safe space. Oh, that is an unsafe area. And we're talking about words and thoughts and ideas, folks. Not that a live wire has fallen on the ground and you might get electrocuted. Not that there might be a shark in the ocean that you're about to swim in. But we've seen in Bolton and we've seen in Cambridge basically a huge reaction, I think an overreaction to people, Canadians, that are legitimately angry, Andrew. They are booing him. They're screaming obscenities. I don't go that route. But I will say this. I think it's entirely understandable. In the last year and a half, the suffering Canadians have gone through, a lot of that suffering via federal policies by the Justin Trudeau Liberals, and yet this is being treated as scandalous.
Let's throw this video, please.
Have you played a role in inflaming some of the rhetoric that has now enveloped this campaign that still has 3 weeks to go before Election Day?
I think it's really important that we all reflect on our role as citizens in a democracy, as leaders, on how we choose to bring Canadians together. And one of the challenges we face right now is there seems to be a lot of concern that perhaps the desire to bring Canadians together is at odds with the desire and the responsibility we have to keep Canadians safe. Science tells us that the best way through this pandemic is to get vaccinated. That's how we end this. That's how we get back to normality that so many people so desperately want. So we have to stand strong for what we know to be true. That science is going to help us through this, is going to be the path forward out of this.
The media party, members of the media party, are actually in shock that their golden boy is getting abused with insults and profanity and loud protests. And there's two things at play here, I think, Andrew. One is, since they're getting bought and paid for with all the federal government bailouts to the mainstream media, they can't imagine someone disliking him. You know. Secondly, they maintain the narrative of who is paying this mob to show up. They've got to be paid. They've got to be paid agents, as opposed to this being organic anger at Justin Trudeau. And they think that way, Andrew, because they are being paid. You know, so if they're being paid, they assume that counter-protests, people who are anti-Trudeau, well, obviously there's no other answer. They must be paid shills too. That's your mainstream media, as our boss likes to say. The watchdogs have become the lapdogs.
But this is what's going to happen when you lock people down. You take away their freedom of movement, which is supposed to be a freedom. You forcibly confine citizens, which they did with the COVID hotels, some of which owned by China, of course. And also the internet censorship, funding the media he prefers secretly in unknown places before the election for emergency funds. You just can't be mean to the guy who's sounding more and more like a dictator every time he speaks. You think you can get on a plane or a train, David Menzies?
Oh.
You think you can get that bus to go under 50 miles per hour, David Menzies? You better be vaccinated if you think you can slow the bus down below 50. Somebody pointed out to me the other day that if you go to a Trump event and there is 1,000 people yelling things at them, well, there's never more than a couple hundred. There's 50,000 people who would drown them out with their cheers.
Yeah.
But that just doesn't happen for Trudeau. They need their own staffers to do it.
What killed me, High Energy, is that one of the journalists in the Q&A scrum with Prime Minister Trudeau asked him, what did you think about this anti-black slur and this anti-woman slur? Wait a minute. You're asking Prime Minister Justin Blackface McGroper Trudeau about what he thinks about racism and misogyny? Give me a break. And a lot of this has to do with the media party, especially the younger woke journalists that don't know anything about history. When they say, this is unprecedented. We have never seen this in Canadian history before.
Well, words are violence.
Bullshit. A few examples. 1968, Pierre Trudeau, Justin's father, at the St. John Baptiste Day Parade in Quebec. That's a bigger celebration than Dominion Day. And there were separatists that showed up. There were actual riots. There were people fighting one another. Again, his dad, on a train trip across Canada, I think it was 1980, there was that famous incident. It was in BC where there were protesters and Pierre Trudeau gave the middle finger.
Oh, that's classic.
Oh, that is classic, you know, the so-called Trudeau salute.
I want to get to the Liberal dinner that happened. Some politicians in British Columbia, I believe it was, where they were overdoing their own rules.
Wow.
Because they weren't allowed to have 6 people unless they're from the same household, I believe, is the limit there. I can't be completely sure. Maybe we can bring that up as well, producer Justin.
Not according to the government.
You guys are, did you just want to come up and mess with their dinner?
Yeah, very much. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. You mess with my life all through my life.
We just had rapid tests done and we're negative.
What's that guy doing? When did you offer rapid?
I guess you guys keep moving.
Yeah, the rapid.
No, this is freaking ridiculous. Okay, let's go. Yeah, oh, because it's our government telling us what to do. Just having dinner, there's only allowed 6 people at your table.
We were just told that out there are 6 people at a table.
We couldn't have that. Now you're allowing him because he's our government. After we're told we have to get a shot.
Have a good night, guys.
Thanks for coming up. Yeah, well, this is going to be all over social media now.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you very much. Who are you with?
Oh, really?
Can I see your badge number, please, so I can get on video?
See my badge.
Why not?
Thanks, guys.
Carry on here.
Go back to your table. Thanks very much. No, we weren't allowed to have 7 people at our table. We had to split up.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Have a good night. Yeah, let's go post it.
Absolutely.
All right. You got your pictures. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Keep going. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, once again, Andrew, one rule for thee, one rule for me. Or maybe, like the Toronto Blue Jays, that little dinner party secured a national interest exemption.
Chrystia Freeland was heckled, producer Justin tells me, and maybe, I was going to say, and not for her association with George Soros, but maybe it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and play that, producer Justin, if you don't mind.
To tear up NAFTA, that was a threat to all of Canada, and that was a threat to people right here in Cambridge. And I am so proud of the way we worked together. I'm so proud of the way that our government was able to stand up for people here. And you know what? We did it. We won. You guys are still able to export to the United States on privileged terms thanks to our collective success then. And the same thing happens when COVID hit. When COVID hit our government, our Prime Minister knew this was an extraordinary moment.
That's loud.
Wow.
They're pretty far away to be that loud. That's impressive. That's a lot of people. I was surprised. For all the people they say are connected to George Soros, Chrystia Freeland is not the one that comes up the most.
No.
And she should be.
And isn't it so bitterly ironic that Chrystia Freeland, who used to be a journalist, she was caught red-handed manipulating Erin O'Toole last week. Got her. I mean,
Oh, right, the video. Yes.
yeah. You know, again, it's just more hypocrisy by a party that wants to censor the internet for your protection, and meanwhile, they're doing phony baloney manipulation.
So that they can be the ones who determine what's fake. You know your video's fake when you're a left-wing party and Twitter is labeling it as such. All right, let's show this video from Mr. Brevner.
In the White Rock area?
Yeah, I live in White Rock, yeah.
Okay. Are you a homeowner?
No.
Okay. So
how can you be? How can you be these days?
I think this guy
basically represents, he's a drama teacher, okay? And he has absolutely no place in politics of a city, not to mention the country, you know?
Here, here.
Is there a way in which you feel this administration has let you down, or that you think they've done great?
You should almost feel embarrassed asking that.
Prime Minister Trudeau, are vaccine passports here to stay, sir? Vaccine passports disproportionately affect Black Canadians, sir. Black Canadians are disproportionately unvaccinated compared to Caucasian Canadians. Vaccine passports create a two-tiered society, sir. Sir, will there be religious exemptions? Will there be religious exemptions for vaccine passports, sir? Sir, will there be religious exemptions, sir? Do you think that it's insensitive to call a snap election when there are Canadian armed forces dying in Afghanistan, stuck in Kabul, sir? Do you think it is insensitive?
Piece of goddamn you coward! I thought you were against segregation!
Leader of the Liberal Party, Justin Trudeau, was in White Rock, BC today to discuss affordable housing for Canadians. Once locals caught word of the Prime Minister being in town, they had something to say about it.
Wow. So what turned into what was supposed to be, rather, folks, a photo op of Justin Trudeau door knocking in White Rock suddenly morphs into an episode of The Walking Dead.
That's where he was talking about, that people literally came out of their homes to boo him. And the reason why he's able to ask 10 questions is because no other journalists ask any questions.
No.
They can't bring themselves.
That's in left-wing British Columbia. And you've got Trudeau running for the hills because of homeowners running out of their homes booing him. This is so weird. This was so unexpected.
Yeah, I guess the polls aren't what they used to be, David Menzies.
Oh, hi. That was a clip from our Rebel Daily live stream. It's hosted Monday, Wednesday, and Friday by the big boss man, Ezra Levant, and Tuesdays and Thursdays by me, Sheila Gunn Reid, and my good friend, David Menzies. On the live stream, we talk about the news of the day, we show some videos, and we interact with our viewers at home. We stream at 12 noon Eastern, 10 Mountain. You can find us on YouTube, Rumble, Super U, and Odyssey.